Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. And good morning to my fellow friends. First of all, I want to give my thanks to Hadif for give us a chance to present our slideshow. Our slideshow today is about logical fallacies, and its content introduction of logical fallacies and 8 examples of logical fallacies. Okay, we go to the first presenter.
So what is fallacies? Fallacies are defects that weaken argument. The word fallacy derived from the Latin word failure, meaning to deceive, to trip, to lead into error, or to trick. The word also derives from the Greek phallos, meaning deceitful. First, fallacious arguments are very common and can be quite persuasive, at least to the casual reader or listener. You can find dozens of examples of fallacious reasoning in newspapers, advertisements, and other sources. Second, it is sometimes hard to evaluate whether an argument is fallacious. An argument might be very weak, somewhat strong, or very strong. An argument that has several stages or parts might have some strong sections and some weak ones.
Missing the point. Definition. The premises of an argument do support a particular conclusion, but not the conclusion that the arguer actually draws, also known as non sequitur. Example. The seriousness of a punishment should match the seriousness of the crime. Right now, the punishment for drunk driving may simply be a fine, but drunk driving is a very serious crime that can kill innocent people. So, the death penalty should be the punishment for drunk driving. The argument actually supports several conclusions. The punishment for drunk driving should be very serious, in particular, but it doesn't support the claim that the death penalty specifically is warranted. There has been an increased bulgari in the area. Many people moving into the area, therefore, bulgari directly caused by an increase of people in the area.
Okay, we go to the post hoc or fast cause. This fallacy is named from the Latin phrase post hoc ergo propter hoc, which translate as after this, therefore because of this. Definition. Assuming that because B comes after A cause B. Of course, sometimes one event really does cause another one that come later. For example, if I register for a class and my name later appear on the roll, it is true that the first event caused the one came later. But sometimes, two events that seem related in time are not really related as cause and event. That is, correlation is not the same thing as causation. Example, President Jones raised taxes, and then the rate of violent crime went up. John is responsible for the rise in crime. The increase in the taxes might or might not be one factor in the rising crime rates, but the argument has not shown us one caused the other. The rooster crowed, the sun came up. Therefore, the rooster made the sun come up. The appeal of chicken when sun came up might be have no relation, or the opposite. This event might be misunderstood by some people and cause argument.
Next is slippery slope. The slippery slope definition is the arguer claims that a sort of chain reaction, usually ending in some dire consequence, will take place, but there's really not enough evidence for that assumption. It doesn't necessarily have to lead inevitable idea and consequence. Restraint is possible. The example is animal experimentation reduce our respect for life. If we don't respect life, we are likely to be more and more tolerant of violent acts like war and murder. Soon our society will become a battlefield in which everyone constantly fears for their lives. It will be the end of civilization. To prevent this terrible consequence, we should make animal experimentation illegal right now. Since animal experimentation has been legal for some time and civilization has not yet ended, it seems particularly clear that this chain of events won't necessarily take place. If you buy Green Day album hair, you will buy Avengers. Before you know it, you will be a punk with green hair and tats. If you don't want green hair, you cannot buy Green Day album. It doesn't make any sense that your action to buy it will give some drastic impact to yourself. This statement usually used to make less people buy it. And then, weak analogy. The weak analogy definition is many arguments rely on an analogy between two or more objects, ideas, or situations. If the two things that are being compared are not really alike in the relevant respects, the analogy is a weak one, and the argument that relies on it commits the fallacy of weak analogy. The example is guns are like hammers. They are both tools with metal parts that could be used to kill someone, and yet it would be ridiculous to restrict the purchase of hammers. So restrictions on purchasing guns are equally ridiculous. While guns and hammers do share certain features, these features are not the ones at stake in deciding whether to restrict guns. Rather, we restrict guns because they can easily be used to kill large numbers of people at a distance. This is a feature hammers don't share. It'd be hard to kill a crowd with a hammer. Thus, the analogy is weak, and so is the argument based on it. And then, the second example is life like box of chocolates. You never know what you are going to get. How similar life and box of chocolate? It might be a bit ridiculous to simulate life with box of chocolates because what you get in life almost depend on your effort, unlike box of chocolates that depend on your luck. The possibility of life also 100 times bigger than box of chocolates.
Up next, we have the fallacy, which is appeal to authority. The definition is often we add strength to our arguments by referring to respected sources or authorities and explaining their positions on the issues we're discussing. However, we try to get readers to agree with us by our argument with us simply by impressing them with a famous name or by appealing to a supposed authority who really isn't much of an expert, but we commit. So if we do this, we are committing the fallacy of appeal to authority. Okay, let me give you an example. If someone said that we should abolish the death penalty, many respected people such as actor Guy Handsome have publicly stated their opposition to it. Okay, while Guy Handsome may be an authority on matters having to do with acting, there's no particular reason why anyone should be moved by his political opinions. He is probably no more of an authority on the death penalty than the person writing the paper. So beware of this fallacy.
Appeal to pity. Definition. The appeal to pity takes place when an arguer tries to get people to accept a conclusion by making them feel sorry for someone. Example, I know the exam is graded based on performance, but you should give me an A. My cat has been sick, my car broke down, and I have had a cold, so it was really hard for me to study. The conclusion here is you should give me an A. But the criteria for getting an A have to do with learning and applying the material from the course. The principle the arguer wants us to accept, people who have a hard week deserve A's, is clearly unacceptable. Example, it's wrong to tax corporations. Think of all the money they give to charity and of the cost they already pay to run their businesses.
Okay, the last example of logical fallacies is appeal to ignorance. Definition. In the appeal to ignorance, the arguer basically says, look, there are no conclusive evidence on the on the issue at hand. Therefore, we should accept my conclusion on this issue. Examples: people have been trying for centuries to prove that God exists, but no one has yet been able to prove it. Therefore, God doesn't exist. Here, in opposing argument that commits the same fallacy, people have been trying for years to prove that God doesn't exist, but has yet to be able to prove it. Therefore, God exists. In each case, the arguer tries to use the lack of evidence as support for a positive claims about the truth of conclusion. There are one situation in which doing this is not fallacious. If qualified researchers have used well talk of method to search for something for a long time, they have not found it. It is the kinds of thing people thought to be able to find. The fact that they have not found it constitutes evidence that it doesn't exist. And thank you.